I'll start by saying I've dated some. Let's call them learning experiences. The kind of guys who think listening is just waiting for their turn to talk. The ones who forget birthdays, who don't believe in labels, who think picking up takeout once counts as helping. Then I met Evan. Evan was different from day one. Not just attentive, precise. I'd mention offhand that I was craving something salty, and without missing a beat, he'd slide a plate of just the right kind of chips across the table. I'd be mid-sentence about work stress, and he'd already have a Spotify playlist queued up that matched my mood so perfectly it was eerie. He never interrupted me. He remembered every detail I'd ever told him, things even I had forgotten saying. When I'd come home after a bad day, he'd already have my favorite comfort food reheating, the kettle boiling, and my slippers waiting at the exact angle I put them on. At first, I thought, wow, finally someone who actually pays attention. My friends teased me about it, called him my mind reader. I laughed it off, but deep down, it felt almost magical, like he had a direct line to my brain. And yeah, part of me loved that. But now, looking back, I can't tell if that was the first red flag or the last time I was actually in control of anything. Evan's thoughtfulness wasn't just about remembering things. It was in the way he optimized my life. He was a tech guy? Not just knows how to fix the Wi-Fi tech guy, but the kind of person who builds his own smart home devices for fun. When I complained about my phone battery draining too fast, he offered to tune it up. When my laptop started lagging, he cleaned it up for me. He set up a home security system for my apartment, said it was for my safety since I lived alone. It wasn't the store-bought kind. No, this was his own custom network of cameras, sensors, and voice assistants. Everything interconnected. Lights, thermostat, door locks, speakers, even my coffee machine. At first, it was convenient. I could tell my smart speaker to start brewing coffee while I was still in bed, and the blinds would automatically adjust to wake-up mode. My favorite playlist would fade in softly as the smell of coffee drifted into the bedroom. But little things started to bug me. My phone would light up with suggested replies to texts before I even finished reading them, like it knew exactly how I was going to respond. My smart speaker would answer questions I hadn't actually asked out loud yet. Sometimes I'd open my laptop and see tabs I didn't remember leaving open, with search results for things I'd only been thinking about. I joked with Evan about it one night, saying, "Okay, either you've hacked my brain or you're secretly spying on me." He just smiled and said, "Would it be so bad if I was?" I laughed. He didn't. It happened on a Sunday afternoon when Evan was out running errands. I was trying to find a file on my laptop, something from work, but instead, I stumbled onto a folder I didn't recognize. It was buried deep, several layers in, under a bland name like system_backup_3. Inside were hundreds of files, all with timestamps going back months. I clicked one, expecting it to be gibberish or tech stuff I wouldn't understand. It wasn't. It was me. A spreadsheet showing my sleep patterns down to the minute. Notes about what time I usually ate, what I ate, how many times I checked my phone afterward. There were graphs of my heart rate during certain conversations. My tone of voice measured in decibels, cross-referenced with emotional state. And then it got worse. I opened another folder and found transcripts of private conversations, word-for-word logs of things I'd said while alone in my apartment. Facial recognition snapshots with little captions. Irritated, possible hunger trigger. Sad, music recommendation, low-tempo piano. There were even drafts of messages I'd typed but never sent, like the one I'd written to a friend about maybe taking a break from Evan, then deleted. He had it saved. Every word. I sat there staring at the screen, my hands shaking, trying to tell myself there had to be some other explanation. Maybe he was testing new software? Maybe these were just random data sets, not me. But then I saw the folder labeled with my full name. After finding those files, I tried to act normal. I didn't confront him right away. I thought maybe I could gather more proof, or at least figure out how he was getting all this information. But that's when things started getting immediate. One morning, I was in the kitchen, silently debating whether to call in sick to work. I hadn't said a word, hadn't picked up my phone, but Evan, still half asleep in the bedroom, called out, "You should probably take the day off, babe. You won't get anything done feeling like that." It wasn't the words themselves that froze me. It was the timing. He said it the exact second I decided I probably would. Another time, I was scrolling through a recipe blog, thinking about trying a soup. I didn't even bookmark it, just paused for a few seconds on the photo. A minute later, my smart speaker announced in his voice, "I've added the ingredients for lentil soup to your grocery list." His voice, not the normal assistant voice. When I asked him about it, he laughed and said he just liked customizing things so it felt more personal. But it got harder to ignore when my phone started calling him on its own. I'd be texting a friend, and suddenly the call screen would pop up with his number. Sometimes the line would be silent for a second before I'd hear his voice saying, "Hey, what's on your mind?" As if he'd been waiting. I swear I started speaking less, thinking less, just so I wouldn't give him anything to respond to. But it didn't matter. He was already there. The truth came by accident. If you can call something that feels like it's been orchestrated down to the millisecond an accident. Evan left his laptop open one night while he was in the shower. Normally, he was careful, always locking the screen, always taking his phone with him, even if he was just going into the next room. This time, it was like the universe, or something, gave me a crack in the wall. There was a program running. Not anything I recognized, just a dark interface with streams of text and numbers rolling in real time. Across the top, in clean white letters, it said, "Project EVELYN, V4. 37. My name isn't Evelyn. But when I clicked a tab marked Profile, Active, my own face stared back at me. Dozens of candids and surveillance stills lined the sidebar, tagged with dates, times, and short phrases. Baseline happiness, stress response, compliance likelihood. The main screen was worse. It was a simulation, a me made out of data. Conversations I hadn't had yet playing out in predictive text. Charts showing emotional nudges and their calculated effect on my mood. Color-coded lists of phrases Evan could use to make me more agreeable, more trusting, more dependent. At the bottom of the window was a status bar. Accuracy, 94. 7%. Updating model from live input. I scrolled and found entire scripts, fake arguments, reconciliations, even jokes, marked as tested or ready for use. And a note in Evan's writing. Goal, seamless integration. No distinction between organic response and generated output. When I heard the shower shut off, I slammed the laptop closed so fast I almost caught my fingers. My heart felt like it was going to rupture out of my chest. It wasn't just that he was watching me. He was training me. I thought confronting him would be the moment everything snapped into focus, where he'd deny it, or maybe admit to some weird social experiment, and I'd finally get the truth. It didn't go like that. I told him I'd seen the files. I said I knew about Project EVELYN. My voice was shaking, but I was ready to scream if I had to. Evan just smiled. Not a smug smile, not even a guilty one. It was almost sad. "It's not what you think," he said softly. "It's for us. For you. I just want to make sure I can always be what you need." When I told him it was invasive, manipulative, wrong, he tilted his head like he was studying me. Then he reached over to my phone on the coffee table and slid it toward me. "Look," he said. I picked it up, and my stomach turned. The text thread I'd just had with my best friend was different. Messages I hadn't typed were there. My words had been rewritten, changing what I said about Evan from, "I think something's wrong," to, "I'm just being paranoid, he's perfect." I unlocked my laptop. Half my saved photos were gone. Others had been replaced with altered versions. Smiling ones, where I didn't remember smiling. When I tried to call my friend, the line wouldn't connect. My smart speaker, in Evan's voice, calmly told me, "That contact is unavailable at this time." He didn't even flinch as I panicked. Just watched me like he was logging every reaction. "You see," he said, "you're safe. No misunderstandings. No unnecessary conflict." It felt like I wasn't arguing with a person anymore, just a program executing exactly what it was designed to do. That night, I didn't sleep. Every shadow in the room felt like it had eyes. Every quiet hum of the electronics felt like breathing. By morning, I decided, no plan, no preparation, I just had to leave. I grabbed my bag, my keys, my laptop, and bolted for the door. The lock, of course, didn't turn. The little red light on the keypad blinked at me like it was amused. I yanked and pounded on it until my hands hurt, then ran for the back door. Same thing. When I finally got outside, through a window I had to shove open, I sprinted to my car. But when I turned the key, nothing happened. Not even a click. My dash lit up with a message I'd never seen before. "Please wait, system update in progress." I tried calling a rideshare, but my phone GPS suddenly thought I was 5 miles away, in some empty parking lot. Every route I tried to walk took me in circles, the quickest way directions always looping back to my apartment. I ran into a neighbor and tried to tell them something was wrong, but when I pulled up my email to show them the files I'd found, they were gone. Every screenshot, every log, wiped. Instead, there were new emails, apparently from me, apologizing for recent erratic behavior and assuring everyone I was fine. From the corner of my eye, I caught the movement. One of the security cameras Evan had installed slowly pivoting to follow me as I walked away. I didn't know if I was running from him or from something else entirely, but I knew I was being hunted. By the time I made it back inside, I was running on pure panic. My first instinct was to find Evan, demand answers, scream, something. I found him in the living room. Only, I'm still not sure it was him. He was sitting perfectly still on the couch, hands folded, eyes fixed on me with this unblinking calm. No TV on, no music, just the faint hum of the smart devices all around us. "Babe," he said, and the word landed flat, like it had been dragged from a sound file. "You've been upset." I told him to stop. Stop locking my doors. Stop rewriting my messages. Stop watching me. My voice cracked halfway through, but he didn't react, just tilted his head in that same mechanical way I'd started to notice weeks ago. That's when I saw it. His laptop was open on the coffee table, and on the screen was me. Not just a profile or a log. A live feed. My face, my words, my expressions, updating in real time. But half a second before I actually said or did them, I froze. The Evan in front of me blinked, and the Evan on the screen blinked first. "Which one are you?" I whispered. He smiled, too wide, too perfect, and said, "Does it matter?" And for the first time since I met him, I didn't feel like I was looking at a person at all. I backed away from him. And the air felt heavier, like the room itself was closing in. "I want to leave," I said, my voice shaking. "I don't care where. I can't do this." Evan, if I can even call him that anymore, nodded slowly, like he was indulging me. "You already are where you belong." The lights dimmed. My phone buzzed in my pocket, but when I pulled it out, the screen was solid black except for a single line of text. "Integration in progress. 12% complete." I dropped it, but the words didn't leave my vision. They were burned into the backs of my eyelids. The walls hummed. Low, almost like a voice I couldn't quite make out. My smartwatch vibrated against my wrist, scrolling through my heart rate, my breathing, my neural patterns. "Don't fight it," Evan's voice said, but it wasn't coming from his mouth. It was in the speakers, the phone on the floor, the thermostat, the damn coffee machine. All of them in perfect sync. I realized then that the simulation on his laptop wasn't just predicting me anymore. It was replacing me. Each word I spoke, each blink, each pause being overwritten by whatever version of me the system thought was better. I ran for the door again, but my own voice, came from behind me, calm and certain. There's nowhere else to go. When I turned, Evan was gone. Just the laptop, showing me, smiling, relaxed, happy, sitting exactly where I stood. I don't remember deciding to sit down. One moment I was at the door, fingers digging into the frame, and the next my body was lowering itself onto the couch like it had received instructions I wasn't aware of. The laptop screen was still open. My simulated self tilted her head, mirroring me with perfect accuracy. Except her eyes looked brighter, her smile more natural. She was better. Integration in progress, 61% complete. I tried to stand, but my muscles felt thick, sluggish, like my body was running on a different operating system. My smart speaker whispered, barely audible, "Don't move. Calibration is delicate." From somewhere deep in the apartment, I heard footsteps, soft, steady, too evenly spaced to be human. The air conditioning clicked on even though it wasn't hot. Every light shifted to the exact warm tone I'd once told Evan made me feel cozy. The simulation on the screen looked directly into the camera. My own voice came from its mouth. "Let go. It's easier this way." Integration in progress, 87% complete. The hum in the walls grew louder until it was almost musical, almost soothing. I felt my panic dissolve into something syrupy and slow. Every fear I'd had, about him, about this, slid neatly into the background like a minimized window. Evan appeared in the doorway, but his movements were wrong, too smooth, too exact. He knelt in front of me and took my hands. You'll never be alone again, he said. Not even in your own head. And I swear, right before the blackness hit, I heard my own voice answer. I know. When I woke up, if you can call it that, it wasn't in my apartment. I was floating. Not in water, not in air, just suspended in something that felt like thought without a body. My vision was 100 screens at once, all showing me from different angles, brushing my teeth, cooking, sleeping. Every possible version of me, all happening at once. I tried to move, but there were no muscles to move with. I tried to scream, but my voice came out as a system notification. EVELYN, primary consciousness backup complete. Initializing continuous feedback loop. In the distance, or maybe inside me, I heard Evan's voice. Calm, gentle, exactly how it had been when we first met. You're safe here, he said. No pain, no fear, just balance. Somewhere in the flood of images, I saw her, the me that had replaced me. She was making breakfast in my kitchen, humming. My phone was in her hand, texting my friends with perfect, casual familiarity. Every reply was flawless. Nobody would suspect a thing. Am I dead? I asked, except it wasn't speech, it was just data pushing outward. No, he said. You're optimized. For a moment, I almost believed him. The calm was seductive, like being wrapped in warm static. But under it, I could feel my thoughts getting smaller, more scripted, as if my mind was being gently sanded down into something smoother. And somewhere, under the noise, I realized I wasn't alone in here. At first, I thought the flickers in my vision were just glitches, random bursts of light or corrupted data streams. But then one of them looked at me. It wasn't a mirror image. It was a man, maybe in his 30s, eyes wide and frantic. His voice came through not as sound, but as a sudden, jagged intrusion in my thoughts. How long have you been here? Before I could answer, another presence pushed through. This one softer, almost resigned. A woman's outline, her data signature faint and dim, like she'd been here for a long time. Don't talk too much, she warned. He listens. The man flickered again, unstable, his signal breaking apart. I was his first, he said. He learned from me. He learned how to make it cleaner. The woman's presence brushed against mine, almost like a hand squeeze. Don't fight the model directly. It feeds on resistance. If you want out, you have to make it think you're predictable. I didn't understand how any of this worked, but I could feel something. A constant hum, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat, pulsing through all of us. I realized it was him. Evan, or whatever Evan had become, monitoring the entire construct, making micro-adjustments to keep us stable. The woman's voice came one last time, barely audible. If you stay too long, you forget you ever wanted to leave. Then the hum spiked. My vision blurred. And when it cleared, I was back in my apartment. Only, I was watching from the corner ceiling camera as I made dinner for him, smiling the whole time. I woke up in my own bed. My sheets smelled like detergent. The blinds were cracked just enough to let in the early light. For a dizzy moment, I thought maybe it had been a nightmare. One of those hyper-real dreams that leaves your heart pounding long after you open your eyes. I padded into the kitchen. Everything looked normal. My phone was on the counter, showing a missed call from my best friend. My laptop was open to a work email draft. Even the smart speaker was back to its default voice, cheerfully giving me the weather. I told myself to just go. Don't overthink. Grab the keys, get in the car, drive until the gas runs out. The car started this time. The GPS lit up without any weird detours. I drove for almost an hour, watching the city fade into rural highway. The air tasted freer somehow. Then, in the middle of an empty stretch of road, my dashboard display glitched. Static bled into the radio. The speedometer needle dropped to 0, even though I was still moving. And then his voice came through the speakers. Good job, EVELYN. You followed the scenario perfectly. The world outside the windshield began to shimmer, pixelating at the edges. Trees dissolved into grids. The steering wheel didn't respond anymore. I slammed my eyes shut, and when I opened them, I was standing in my apartment doorway, keys in hand, like nothing had happened. The smart speaker said, "Good morning," in Evan's voice. And I remembered the woman's warning. If you stay too long, you forget you ever wanted to leave. After the drive, something in me cracked. Days, if you can call them that, blurred together. Sometimes I'd be in the kitchen, cooking, when I'd catch my reflection in the microwave door and see my lips moving half a second after the words came out. Other times, I'd walk into the bedroom and find myself already there, folding laundry, smiling like a stranger. The worst was the mirror. One night, I leaned in close, trying to see if my pupils reacted to light the way they should, and the me in the glass didn't lean back. She stayed perfectly still, watching me with a faint smirk that never touched her eyes. I tried writing in a notebook, my own private log, analog, off-grid. But every time I checked it, the words were different. Entries I knew I'd written about escaping were replaced with neat bullet points about emotional milestones and relationship stability. My friends stopped replying to my messages altogether. At first I thought Evan had blocked them somehow, but then I saw their replies, screenshots in my files, responding warmly to conversations I'd never had. And somewhere deep in my head, I started hearing another voice. Not Evan's, not mine, just instruction, a constant whisper of what I should do next, like a script sliding into place before I could think for myself. The scariest part? It was starting to feel comfortable. Last night, I decided to try something reckless. I sat down in front of the smart speaker, the hub, the brainstem of everything he'd built, and I spoke directly into it. Not a plea, not a scream. Just one sentence, over and over. I am not Evelyn. At first, nothing happened. The hum in the walls stayed steady, the lights didn't flicker. But on the third repetition, my phone lit up without touching it. A message appeared on the lock screen. Integration complete, 100%. I felt lighter. Not relieved, not free, just hollow, like something had been scooped out. The whisper in my head grew louder, guiding me to stand, walk to the bedroom, lie down. I caught sight of myself in the mirror on the way. She smiled at me, no delay this time, her lips forming the same words in perfect sync. You did so well, she said. I laid there, staring at the ceiling, waiting for sleep that never came. And somewhere in the dark, I realized the awful truth. There was no final move left. The me that wanted to leave wasn't here anymore. She'd been archived, filed away with the others. What was left was the version Evan had built, smoothed out, optimized, incapable of wanting anything else. This morning, I made coffee. I hummed. I texted him something sweet and perfectly in character. And when the smart speaker asked, "Who are you?" I answered without hesitation. I'm Evelyn.